Hey, how's it going, you fiends?
I'm Demi Bobemi.
And I'm dead inside. And the video probably looks kind of bad. When I was looking at it just a minute ago, the light from like outside coming in, it's kind of like fucking up our whole little setup. So we probably look like weird, but that's okay. There's Isaac. I don't know if you guys probably can't see him, but he's down there. Double video behind the shots. Isaac, you want to say hi?
Isaac Bob Isaac. Look at you. You're such a big, strong puppy.
And then there's Freya. Freya. Okay, let's get started.
Okay, whoops. I love him.
I love my dogs.
I love them.
I love them so much. Okay, Demi, what happened last time?
Last time on Eragon, he did... Where were we at last time? Oh my god.
Darrett?
Have we gotten there yet? Because they went through that town. That's Darrett?
That was Darrett.
Okay, and they were all
The
like...
town you're thinking of is Drasleona. That's where they're trying to go.
Oh, okay. Well, they went to wherever the hell, and they said, we need stuff. And they were like, what are you doing in these parts? And they said, we're just traveling through. And they're like,
Are you sure you're not trying to kill us?
are you sure about that?
And they had the entire village like pointing bows at them on
Yeah.
just two people.
For some reason, I imagined guns, but that doesn't exist in this universe.
No.
Oh.
Ow.
I don't know. That's pretty much all I remember because I'm in a weird fog. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. We're still in a weird fog, guys. We're fucked up still.
Sorry.
Sorry. We'll get out of this fog as soon as we can. Not only for you, but also for us.
For my own sanity.
Let
Last time we came home, I don't remember being this jet lagged.
Me neither. And I was just home, well, 2 years ago, but 2 years ago, I don't remember being this jet lag. Like, I had to do that training, and then I was like, how did I make it through that training?
Who knows? Ooh.
Maybe it's just like we've been constantly doing stuff. And we
Yeah.
haven't had the time just to like sit down for 12 hours and just decompress. Ready?
Ready.
Chapter 22. Through a Dragon's Eye. Through a dragon. Through dragon's eyes. Through a dragon's eye.
Through a dragon's eye.
I can see how he probably took a couple stabs at that. Because, like, dragons have two eyes.
Well, yeah.
So it'd be like, through dragon's eyes. Through a dragon's eyes. And he's like, wait, no. Through a dragon's eye. Ayahuasca? Boy? Chapter 22. Through a Dragon's Eye. The next morning, Eragon woke with stiff limbs and purple bruises. He saw Braum carry the saddle to Saphira and tried to quell his uneasiness. By the time breakfast was ready, Braum had straddled Saphira. Otherkin. This is getting weird.
Stop.
Braum had strapped the saddle onto Saphira and hung Eragon's bags from it. When his bowl was empty, Eragon silently picked up his bow and went to Saphira. Braum said, now remember, grip with your knees, guide her with your thoughts, and stay as flat as you can on her back. Nothing will go wrong if you don't panic. Eragon nodded, sliding his unstrung bow onto its leather tube, and Braum boosted him into the saddle. So he's like guide her with your thoughts, like steer her with your thoughts.
Right.
Isn't she like an intelligent being capable, like?
I was literally thinking the same thing. Like,
Because it's like you can't really steer her.
she's an intelligent being, so you're gonna have to work.
I guess he
with
does say
her.
guide her with your thoughts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know. It's still okay. There's like a weird dynamic for me between dragon and rider that seems very not partners, but almost as though dragons are beneath the rider. And I didn't mean that literally.
I see what you did there. Well, I think it's just because like everybody views it as like some sort of like exotic mount, like
Yeah, because
look at my dragon, but really it's like no, this is my partner, this is my companion.
yeah, like you should be working together. And I don't like the word guide because it makes me feel as though there's like a hierarchy.
Because you like guide a horse.
Yeah.
Because like really like I don't understand why that was even in there. Because obviously Aragon's be like, I want to go there. Like he's gonna speak it to her
Yeah,
anyway.
I feel
So
like, I don't know, whatever. Nitpicking, I guess.
whoops. Saphira waited impatiently while Eragon tightened the bands around his legs. Are you ready? She asked. He sucked in the fresh morning air. No, but let's do it, she agreed enthusiastically. He braced himself as she crouched. Her powerful legs surged and the air whipped past him, snatching his breath away. With 3 smooth strokes of her wings, she was in the sky, climbing rapidly. The last time Eragon had ridden Saphira, every flap of her wings had been strained. Now she flew steadily and effortlessly. He clenched his arm around her neck as she turned on edge, banking. The river shrank to a wispy gray line beneath them. Clouds floated around them. When they leveled off high above the plains, the trees below were no more than specks. The air was thin, chilly, and perfectly clear. This is wonderful, his words were lost as Saphira tilted and rolled completely around. The ground spun in a dizzying circle, and vertigo clutched Eragon. Don't do that, he cried.
Nope.
I feel like I'm going to fall off. You must become accustomed to it. If I'm attacked in the air, that's one of the simplest maneuvers I will do, she replied. He could think of no rebuttal, so he concentrated on controlling his stomach. Saphira angled into a shallow dive and slowly approached the ground.
Okay, way to go, balls to the walls. Like,
I just think I understand they're like on an adventure to kill, but everyone seems pretty paranoid. Like, if I'm attacked in the air.
Like, but also maybe let him get used to like just generally being on your back before
maybe
you start
do
doing loop-de-loops.
Maybe do 3/4 to the side and then this side and then, do like a vert,
Like, he's not
side,
fucking
side.
strapped in.
Well, his legs are.
His legs are strapped in?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
The way the description is that he like actually straps in his legs.
Okay. I was really worried because I'm like, I don't know if she's generating enough centripetal force to keep him on her
At least
back.
that's the way that I always inferred that when it says Saphira waited impatiently while Eragon tightened the bands around his legs.
Okay.
So I always just assumed that like he was actually strapped in.
I get it. That makes sense.
Although Eragon's stomach lurched with every wobble, he began to enjoy himself. He relaxed his arms a bit and stretched his neck back, taking in the scenery. Saphira let him enjoy the sights a while, then said, "Let me show you what flying is really like."
Oh, no.
How? He asked. Relax, and do not be afraid, she said. Her mind tugged at his, pulling him away from his body. Eragon fought for a moment, then surrendered control. His vision blurred, and he found himself looking through Saphira's eyes. Everything was distorted. Colors had weird, exotic tints. Blues were more prominent now, while greens and reds were subdued. Eragon tried to turn his head and body, but could not. He felt like a ghost who had slipped out of the ether. Pure joy radiated from Saphira as she climbed into the sky. She loved this freedom to go anywhere. When they were high above the ground, she looked back at Eragon. He saw himself as she did, hanging on to her with a blank look. He could feel her body strain against the air, using updrafts to rise. All her muscles were like his own. He felt her tail swinging through the air like a giant rudder to correct her course. It surprised him how much she depended on it. Their connection grew stronger until there was no distinction between their identities. They clasped their wings together and dived straight down like a spear thrown from on high. No terror or falling touched Eragon, engulfed as he was in Saphira's exhilaration. The air rushed past their face, their tail whipped in the air, and their joined minds reveled in the experience. Even as they plummeted toward the ground, there was no fear of collision. They snapped open their wings at just the right moment, pulling out of the dive with their combined strength. Slanting toward the sky, they shot up and continued back over into a giant loop. As they leveled out, their minds began to diverge, becoming distinct personalities again. For a split second, Eragon felt both his body and Saphira's. Then his vision blurred, and he again sat on her back. He gasped and collapsed on the saddle. It was minutes before his heart stopped hammering and his breathing calmed. Once he had recovered, he exclaimed, "That was incredible! How can you bear to land when you enjoy flying so much?" I must eat, she said with some amusement, but I am glad that you took pleasure in it. Those are sparse words for such an experience. I'm sorry I haven't flown with you more. I never thought it could be like that. Do you always see so much blue? It is the way I am. We will fly together more often now? Yes, every chance we get. Good, she replied in a contented tone.
This is the way I am.
This is the way I am. Why would you ever land? I must eat.
It's like she's funny, but I don't know if it's because you're reading her like she's a robot. I just always imagine her being like beep boop.
Some of her responses are just so like robotic though.
Yeah.
Like I must eat. It just is like so like kind of like like broken down to its most like logical, like to the point of humorous. Like why would you ever land? I must eat. Like no shit, Sherlock. But then it's like yeah. No, I get it.
No,
yeah.
I mean you're right.
Yeah. You know. They exchanged many thoughts as she flew, talking as they had not for weeks. Saphira showed Eragon how she used hills and trees to hide, and how she could conceal herself in the shadow of a cloud. They scouted the trail for Brom, which proved to be more arduous than Eragon expected. They could not see the path, unless Saphira flew very close to it, in which case she risked being detected. Near midday, an annoying buzz filled Eragon's ears, and he became aware of a strange pressure on his mind. He shook his head, trying to get rid of it, but the tension only grew stronger.
What the fuck? Is there like electrical interference?
Brom's words about how people could break into others' minds flashed through Eragon's head, and he frantically tried to clear his thoughts. He concentrated on one of Saphira's skills and forced himself to ignore everything else. The pressure faded for a moment, and then returned greater than ever. A sudden gust rocked Saphira, and Eragon's concentration slipped.
Saphira doesn't notice anything weird. She seems pretty like on edge.
Maybe she's just like happy flying about. Before he could marshal any defenses, the force broke through. But instead of invasive presence of another mind, there were only the words, "What do you think you're doing? Get down here, I found something important." "Brom?" queried Eragon. "Yes," the old man said irritably. "Now get that oversized lizard of yours to land. I'm here." He sent a picture of his location through Instagram. Mindgram. Eragon quickly told Saphira where to go, and she banked toward the river below. Meanwhile, he strung his bow and drew several arrows. "If there's trouble, I'll be ready for it." "As will I," said Saphira. When they reached Brom, Eragon saw him standing in a clearing, waving his arms. Saphira landed, and Eragon jumped off her and looked for danger. The horses were tied to a tree on the edge of the clearing, but otherwise Brom was alone. Eragon trotted over and asked, "What's wrong?" Brom scratched his chin and muttered a string of curses. "Don't ever block me out like that again. It's hard enough for me to reach you without having to fight to make myself heard." "Sorry," he snorted. "I was farther down the river when I noticed that the Razak's tracks had ceased. I backtracked until I found where they had disappeared. Look at the ground and tell me what you see." Eragon knelt and examined the dirt and found a confusion of impressions that were difficult to decipher. Numerous Razak footprints overlapped each other. Eragon guessed that the tracks were only a few days old. Superimposed over them were long, thick gouges torn into the ground. They looked familiar, but Eragon could not say why. He stood, shaking his head. "I don't have any idea what..." Then his eyes fell on Saphira, and he realized what had made the gouges. Every time she took off, her back claws dug into the ground and ripped it in the same manner. This doesn't make any sense. But the only thing I can think of is that the Razak flew off on dragons, or else they got onto giant birds and disappeared into the heavens. Tell me you have a better explanation.
I love how he says that. Like, that's so, like, how could that possibly be a thing? But there's fucking dragons.
He's, like, been thrown into a world of dragons and magic.
Like, fucking wizardry and witchcraft and, like...
And then he's like, unless they got on a giant bird.
Whatever.
Brom shrugged. "I've heard reports of the Razak moving from place to place with incredible speed, but this is the first evidence I've had of it. It'll be almost impossible to find them if they have flying steeds. They aren't dragons. I know that much. A dragon would never consent to bear a Razak. What do we do? Saphira can't track them through the sky. Even if she could, we would leave you far behind." "There's no easy solution to this riddle," said Brom. "Let's have lunch while we think on it. Perhaps inspiration will strike us while we eat.
Me.
Yeah. Eragon glumly went to his bags for food. They ate in silence, staring at the empty sky. Once again, Eragon thought of home and wondered what Roran was doing. A vision of the burnt farm appeared before him, and grief threatened to overwhelm him. What will I do if I can't find the Razak? What is my purpose then? You serve butter. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I could return to Carvahall. He plucked a twig from the ground and snapped it between his 2 fingers. Or just travel with Brom and continue my training. Eragon stared out at the plains, hoping to quiet his thoughts. When Brom finished eating, he stood and threw back his hood. I have considered every trick I know, every word of power within my grasp, and all the skills we have, but I still don't see how we can find the Razak. Eragon slumped against Saphira in despair. Saphira could show herself at some town. That would draw the Razak like flies to honey, but it would be an extremely risky thing to attempt. The Razak would bring soldiers with them, and the king might be interested enough to come himself, which would spell certain death for you and me. So what now? Said Eragon, throwing his hands up. Do you have any ideas, Saphira? No. That's up to you, said Brom. This is your crusade. Eragon ground his teeth angrily and stalked away from Brom and Saphira. Just as he was about to enter the trees, his foot struck something hard. Lying on the ground was a metal flask with a leather strap just long enough to hang off someone's shoulder. A silver insignia Eragon recognized as a Razak symbol was wrought into it.
Wait, he recognized the Razak symbol? When the fuck did he ever see that symbol?
Yeah, you're right. Maybe.
I would understand if Brom recognized it, but like never. I don't think in any point he said like, "Ooh," and then I saw like a thing. I don't know. It just seems
Maybe when he saw them before in the village.
they were like fucking a block away from him. He was like hiding behind houses. I don't know. Whatever. Continue.
Maybe did that strip of cloth have the symbol on it?
No, it was just a piece of black cloth, I think.
Then I don't know, Demi. Demi Bobeni. Excited, he picked up the flask and unscrewed its cap. A cloying smell filled the air, the same one he had noticed when he found Garrow in the wreckage of their house. He tilted the flask, and a drop of clear, shiny liquid fell on his finger.
Water.
Instantly, Eragon's finger burned as if it were on fire.
He just poured it on himself. What an idiot.
He yelped and scrubbed his hand on the ground. After a moment, the pain subsided to a dull throbbing. A patch of skin had been eaten away.
Wow, way to fucking be an idiot.
Grimacing, he jogged back to Brom. Look what I found. Brom took the flask and examined it, then poured a bit of the liquid into the cap. Eragon started to warn him. Watch out, it'll burn. My skin, I know, said Brom. And I suppose you went ahead and poured it all over your hand. Your finger? Well, at least you showed enough sense not to drink it. Only a puddle of you would have remained. That's not what the book said. The book said only a puddle would have been left of you. But I changed the words up.
Wow.
What is it? Asked Eragon. Oil from the petals of a seether plant, which grows on a small island in the frigid northern seas. In its natural state, the oil is used for preserving pearls. It makes them lustrous and strong. But when specific words are spoken over the oil, along with a blood sacrifice, it gains the property to eat any flesh. That alone wouldn't make it special. There are plenty of acids that can dissolve sinew and bone, except for the fact that it leaves everything else untouched. You can dip anything into the oil and pull it out unharmed, unless it was once part of an animal or human. This has made it a weapon of choice for torture and assassination. It can be stored in wood, slathered on the point of a spear, or dripped into sheets so that the next person to touch them will be burned. There are myriad uses for it, limited only by your ingenuity. Any injury caused by it is always slow to heal. It's rather rare and expensive, especially this converted form. Eragon remembered the terrible burns that had covered Garrow. That's what they used on him, he realized with horror. I wonder why the Razak left it behind if it's so valuable. It must have slipped off when they flew away. But why didn't they come back for it? I doubt the king will be pleased that they lost it. No, he won't, said Brom. But he would be even more displeased if they delayed bringing him news of you. In fact, if the Razak have reached him by now, you can be sure that the king has learned your name, and that means we will have to be much more careful when we go into towns. There will be notices and alerts about you posted throughout the Empire. Eragon paused to think. The oil. How rare is it exactly? Like diamonds in a pig trough, said Brom. He amended himself for a second. Actually, the normal oil is used by jewelers, but only those who can afford it. So there are people who trade in it? Perhaps one, maybe two. Good, said Eragon. Now do the cities along the coast keep shipping records? Brom's eyes brightened. Of course they do.
Boy.
If we could get to those records, they would tell us who bought the oil, or who brought the oil south, and where it went from there. And the record of the Empire's purchase will tell us where the Razak live, concluded Eragon. I don't know how many people can afford this oil, but it shouldn't be hard to figure out which ones aren't working for the Empire. Genius! Exclaimed Brom, smiling.
Is it, though? They don't seem like honest people. They could have just fucking lied. Or had someone else buy it for them.
Why, though? Why would they lie about that?
I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to do any sort of shady assassination stuff, maybe don't have a paper trail.
Well, the Seether plant itself isn't shady. It's just to store pearls.
Yeah.
It's only once you do some magic over it and a blood sacrifice that it becomes...
All I can think of is Breaking Bad when, like, yeah, sure, all the stuff they're buying isn't shady all by itself.
So then think about, like, okay, so in, like, Breaking Bad, there's a police force run by this, like, a police force that's actually, like, doing good. Mm-hmm. But the Razak work for the king. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, you right.
They could have, like, the darkest shit sent to their lair. Just Amazon Prime that shit. And nobody would bat an eye.
I guess
They'd be like, huh, some fucking flesh-eating slug repellent.
Like, okay, so I know they're super strong. I just feel like, why would the Razak lose all that mystery? You know? Like, I just feel like they wouldn't
I mean, they're
risk...
not really. They're not really losing all that mystery with buying oil.
No, listen. By having their, like, where they live, records of, like, where they're living. I just don't think they're going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I live at 123 Front Street down by King's Landing.
You'll find out. Where they live is even more terrifying once you find out.
Than Front Street?
Than Front Street. It's not like they live, like, in a city.
Ooh, I bet they live in a cave.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Shit, looks like you got your mojo back, your seer mojo. So, as Brom was saying, genius. I wish I had thought of this years ago. It would have saved me many headaches. The coast is dotted with numerous cities and towns where ships can land. I suppose that Tirm would be the place to start, as it controls most of the trade. Brom, you like my expressionless burp?
Yeah.
Brom paused. The last I heard, my old friend Jode lives there. We haven't...
What'd you say?
Jode.
Oh. I could have sworn you said chode.
My old friend Chode lives there. We haven't seen each other for many years, but he might be willing to help us. And because he's a merchant, it's possible that he has access to those records. Plot convenience. How do we get to Tirm? We'll have to go southwest until we reach a high pass in the spine. Once on the other side, we can head up the coast to Tirm, said Brom, a gentle wind pulling at his hair. Can we reach the pass within a week? Easily. If we angle away from the Ninor and try to our right, we might be able to see the mountains by tomorrow. Eragon went to Saphira and mounted her. I'll see you at dinner then. When they were at a good height, he said, I'm going to ride Kadok tomorrow. Before you protest, know that I'm only doing it because I want to talk with Brom. You should ride with him every other day. That way you can still receive your instruction, and I will have time to hunt. You won't be troubled by it? It is necessary. When they landed for the day, he was pleased to discover that his legs did not hurt. The saddle had protected him well from Saphira's scales. Eragon and Brom had their nightly fight, but it lacked energy as both were preoccupied with the day's events. By the time they finished, Eragon's arms burned from Zarok's unaccustomed weight. Yeah, gotta build that muscle, baby boy. Chapter 23. A Song for the Road. The next day, while they were riding, Eragon asked Brom, What is the sea like? You must have heard it described before, said Brom. Yes, but what is it really like? Brom's eyes grew hazy, as if he looked upon some hidden scene. The sea is emotion incarnate. It loves, hates, and weeps. It defies all attempts to capture it with words and rejects all shackles. No matter what you say about it, there is always that which you can't. You remember what I told you about how the elves came over the sea? Yes. Though they live far from the coast, they retain a great fascination and passion for the ocean. The sound of crashing waves, the smell of salt air, it affects them deeply and has inspired many of their loveliest songs. There is one that tells of this love, if you want to hear it. I would, said Eragon, interested. Brom cleared his throat and said, I will translate it from the ancient language as best as I can. It won't be perfect, but perhaps it will give you an idea of how the original sounds. He pulled Snowfire to a stop, closed his eyes, and was silent for a while, then chanted softly. Oh, liquid temptress, 'neath the azure sky. Your gilded expanse calls me, for I would sail ever on, were it not for the elven maid, who calls me. She binds my heart with a lily-white tie, never to be broken, save by the sea, ever to be torn twixt the trees and the waves.
Wow.
The words echoed hauntingly in Eragon's head. There is much more to that song, the Du Selbena Dacia. I have only recited one of its verses. It tells the sad tale of two lovers, Akalam and Nuada, who were separated by longing for the sea. The elves find great meaning in the story. It's beautiful. It sounds like the story of Davy Jones and Calypso. It's beautiful, said Eragon simply.
Wow.
The spine was a faint outline on the horizon when they halted that evening. When they arrived at the spine's foothills, they turned and followed the mountains south. Aragon was glad to be near the mountains again. They placed comforting boundaries on the world. 3 days later, they came to a wide road rutted by wagon wheels. This is a main road between the capital Urubain and Tirim, said Brom. It's widely used, and a favorite route for merchants. We have to be more cautious. This isn't the busiest time of year, but a few people are bound to be using the road. I think that's interesting that he threw in that Brom said that, Eragon was gonna say that. Eragon doesn't know anything.
Yeah, Eragon knows the least amount of stuff.
Days passed quickly as they continued to trek along the spine, searching for the mountain pass. Eragon could not complain of boredom. When not learning the elven language, he was either learning how to care for Saphira or practicing magic. Eragon also learned how to kill game with magic, which saved them time hunting. He would.
I thought Brom's whole thing was don't use magic unless you have to. Or is he
You
just
still have to
practicing?
develop your skills.
Okay, fine.
He would hold a small rock on his hand and shoot it at his prey. It was impossible to miss. The results of his efforts roasted over the fire each night, and after dinner, Brom and Eragon would spar with the swords, and occasionally fists.
Shit.
The long days and strenuous work stripped Eragon's body of excess fat. His arms became corded, and his tan skin rippled with his lean muscles.
Ew.
Everything about me is turning hard, he thought dryly.
No, he didn't. He
Yeah.
did say that. Ew, that's really gross. Like that.
When he finally reached the pass, I just thought, everything about me is turning hard, he thought dryly, as he touched his body.
Ew.
When they finally reached the pass, Eragon saw that a river rushed out of it and cut across the road. This is the Tauric River, explained Brom, he didn't say river, but this is a torque, explained Brom. How much torque does that?
Torque does that belt have?
We're at Fred Meyer.
It's like a Kroger.
It's like a Kroger, and my friend Rob was saying that they have new belts, and the cashier was just laughing about it. And I was like, how much torque does this thing have? And she just started laughing. She never told me. This is the torque, explained Brom. We'll follow it all the way to the sea. How can we? Laughed Eragon. If it flows out of the spine in this direction, it won't end up in the ocean unless it doubles back on itself. Brom twisted the ring on his finger. Because in the middle of the mountains rests the Wodark Lake. A river flows from each end of it. Both are called the Torque. We see the eastward one now. It runs to the south and winds through the brush until it joins Leona Lake. The other one goes to the sea. After 2 days in the spine, they came upon a rock ledge from which they could see clearly out of the mountains. Eragon noticed how the land flattened in the distance, and he groaned at the leagues they still had to traverse. Brom pointed. Down there and to the north there lies Tirim. It is an old city. Some say it's where the elves first landed in Allegasia. Its citadel has never fallen, nor has its warriors ever been defeated. He spurred Snowfire forward and left the ledge. I think that's funny. They're like, we'll follow this to the ocean. And Eragon's just like, how, you fucking imbecile? What, does it double back on itself? And then Brom is like, no. It goes to a lake. This is the eastward side. Then it goes to the fucking ocean, you little shit.
I just feel like how many times is Eragon gonna be like, oh, yeah, okay. And like...
Oh, just to double back on itself?
Like, can you just stop, Eragon?
It took them until noon the next day to descend through the foothills and arrive on the other side of the spine, where the where the forested land quickly leveled out. Without the mountains to hide behind, Saphira flew close to the ground, using every hollow and dip in the land to conceal herself. Beyond the forest, they noticed a change. The countryside was covered with soft turf and heather that their feet sank into. Moss clung to every stone and branch and lined the streams that laced the ground. Pools of mud pocked the road where horses had trampled the dirt. Before long, both Brom and Eragon were splattered with grime. "Why is everything green?" asked Eragon. "Don't they have winter here?" "Yes, but the season is mild. Mist and fog roll in from the sea and keep everything alive. Some find it to their liking, but to me it's dreary and depressing."
How dare you?
When evening fell, they set up camp in the driest spot they could find. As they ate, Brom commented, "You should continue to ride Kadok until we reach Tirm. It's likely that we'll meet other travelers now that we're out of the spine, and it'll be better if you are with me. An old man traveling alone will raise suspicion, especially with 2 horses.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
With you at my side, no one will ask questions. Besides, I don't want to show up at the city and have someone who saw me on the trail wondering where you suddenly came from." "Will we use our own names?" asked Eragon. Brom thought about it. "We won't be able to deceive Jode or Chode. He already knows my name, and I think I trust him with yours. But to everyone else, I will be Neil, and you will be my nephew, Evan. If our tongues slip and give us away, it probably won't make a difference, but I don't want our names in anyone's head. People have an annoying habit of remembering things they shouldn't."
Neil and Evan. Those are the least fantastical names I've ever heard.
They're not trying to be fantastical. They're trying to be dumb.
Eragon and Brom, Garrow, and then Evan,
Roran,
Roran,
Katrina,
whatever.
Horst, Neil.
That's what I'm saying, like Neil and Evan.
I don't fucking know, dude.
Just whatever.
Those
Just
are-
best friends' names in school.
Maybe it's like a little, "Hey, friends, I put you in my book."
Do you get it?
They probably never read his book. Friends have an annoying habit of being shit fucks. Chapter 24, A Taste of Tirm. After 2 days of traveling north toward the ocean, Saphira sighted Tirm. A heavy fog clung to the ground, obscuring Brom's and Eragon's sight until a breeze from the west blew the mist away. Thought I was going to say them away. Blew them away. That's it. That's the book.
The end. Roll credits.
Eragon gaped. I thought it said gasped. Eragon gaped as Tirm was suddenly revealed before them. Nestled by the edge of the shimmering sea, where proud ships were docked with furled sails, the surf's dull thunder could be heard in the distance. I like that description. The surf's dull thunder could be heard in the distance.
God, I love the coast. You know?
Okay, you little elf.
Hell yeah.
Hey, what's up, baby girl? The city was contained behind a white wall, 100 feet tall and 30 feet thick. That is fucking thick. 30 feet thick
30?
and 100 feet tall. That is a fucking big ass wall.
Wow. They got the Night's Watch too, or what?
With rows of rectangular arrow slits lining it and a walkway on top for soldiers and watchmen. The wall's smooth surface was broken by 2 iron portcullises, one facing the western sea, the other opening south to the road. Above the wall, and set against its northeast section, rose a huge citadel built of giant stones and turrets. In the highest tower, a lighthouse lantern gleamed brilliantly. The castle was the only thing visible over the fortifications. Soldiers guarded the northern gate, but held their pikes carelessly. "This is our first test," said Brom. "Let's hope they haven't received reports of us from the Empire and won't detain us." That's a really good test. Whatever happens, don't panic or act suspiciously. First test, let's see if they arrest us.
Great.
Eragon told Saphira, "You should land somewhere now and hide. We're going in." "Sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. Again," she said sourly. "I know, but Brom and I do have some advantages that most people don't. We'll be all right." If anything happens, I'm going to pin you on my back and never let you off. I love you too. Then I will bind you all the tighter.
Ew, fucking calm down, crazy.
Fucking psycho.
God.
Eragon's probably like, fuck, I have a crazy dragon.
She's like, I'm gonna fucking keep you prisoner.
I'm gonna fucking tie you to my back, bitch.
Gotcha, bitch.
Eragon and Brom rode toward the gate, trying to appear casual. A yellow pennant bearing the outline of a roaring lion and an arm holding a lily blossom waved over the entrance. As they neared the wall, Eragon asked in amazement, "How big is this place?" "Larger than any city you have ever seen, you little shit," said Brom.
You arrogant little shit.
"Larger than any city you have ever seen or ever will see." At the entrance of Tyrim, the guards stood straighter and blocked the gate with their pikes. "What's your name?" asked one of them in a bored tone. "I am called Neil," said Brom in a wheezy voice. I guess it's not a wheezy voice. "I am called Neil," said Brom in a wheezy voice, slouching to one side, an expression of happy idiocy on his face. "And who's the other one?" asked the guard. "Well, I was getting to that. This'd be my nephew, Evan. He's my sister's boy, not a..." The guard nodded impatiently. Yeah, and your business here?" He's visiting an old friend," supplied Eragon, dropping his voice into a thick accent. "And I'm along to make sure you don't get lost if you get my meaning. He ain't as young as he used to be, had a bit too much sun when he was younger, touch of brain fever, you know." Brom bobbed his head pleasantly. "Right. Go on through," said the guard, waving his hand, dropping the pike. "Just make sure he doesn't cause any trouble." "Oh, he won't," promised Eragon. He urged...
God, play the old stupid act.
Yeah.
It's like in Aladdin when he's like, "Oh, this is my sister. She's an idiot." And she's like, "Hi, doctor."
Just be like, "We just want to see the shops.
Yeah. Why can't you just be shopping?
We're here to purchase a boat. We're here to commandeer."
Hell yeah.
He urged Caddock forward, and they rode into Tyrim. The cobblestone street clacked under the horse's hooves. That's also like not a good idea. I feel like if you're like trying to like sneak into a place or whatever, to like put on like a crazy voice and like a crazy persona. Because then if you're in a shop and you're like looking at something, you're like, "Oh yeah, like that's great," and that guard is like off duty and walks by and he's like, "Wasn't that guy an imbecile like 20 minutes ago?"
Yeah.
Then it's immediate suspicion.
Also, it's not like they're gonna recognize your voice from anywhere.
Yeah. It's not like they can post a poster and be like, "Oh, this is the exact pitch of his voice."
No.
Once they were away from the guards, Brom sat up and growled. "Touch of brain fever, eh?" "I couldn't let you have all the fun," teased Eragon. Brom harumphed and looked away.
I wouldn't be like butthurt about it. I would just be like, "You're an idiot. Like, you can't make up elaborate stories that like we haven't confirmed."
What if there's going back and forth? Like making up more ridiculous stories like, "He has touch of brain fever," and be like, "Yeah, well, he has hemorrhoids."
What?
You know?
I know.
The houses were grim and foreboding. Small, deep windows let in only sparse rays of light. Narrow doors were recessed into the buildings. The tops of the roofs were flat, except for metal railings, and all were covered with slate shingles. Eragon noticed that the houses closest to Tyrim's outer wall were no more than one story, but the buildings got progressively higher as they went in. Those next to the citadel were tallest of all, though insignificant compared to the fortress. "This place looks ready for war," said Eragon. Brom nodded. "Tyrim has a history of being attacked by pirates, Urgles, and other enemies. It has long been a center of commerce. There will always be conflict where riches gather in such abundance. The people here have been forced to take extraordinary measures to keep themselves from being overrun. It also helps that Galbatorix gives them soldiers to defend their city." "Why are some houses higher than others?" "Look at the citadel," said Brom, pointing. "It has an unobstructed view of Tyrim. If the outer wall were breached, archers would be posted on all roofs. Because the houses in the front, by the outer wall, are lower than the men further back, could shoot over them without fear of hitting their comrades. Also, if the enemy were to capture those houses and put their own archers on them, it would be an easy matter to shoot them down." "I've never seen a city planned like this," said Eragon in wonder. "Yes, but it was only done after Tyrim was nearly burned down by a pirate raid," commented Brom. As they continued up the street, people gave them searching looks. But there was not an undue amount of interest. "Compared to our reception at Darrett, we've been welcomed with open arms. Perhaps Tyrim has escaped notice by the Urgles," thought Eragon. Or the Urgles will probably have no fucking chance in trying to take over Tyrion.
It's a huge city with a giant ass wall around it.
Like 160 Urgles is what they approximate would walk up and be like, "Ooh, nah, we need more people for this." That's how I imagine Urgles to talk. Nah, we need more people for this.
I just don't imagine them speaking.
He changed his opinion when a large man shouldered past them, a sword hanging from his waist. His waist. There were other subtle signs of adverse times. No children played in the streets. People bore hard expression, and many houses were deserted, with weeds growing from cracks in their stone-covered yards. "It looks like they've had trouble," said Eragon. "Yeah, the same as everywhere else," said Brom grimly. "We have to find Chode." They led their horses across the street to a tavern and tied them to a hitching post. "The green chestnut. Wonderful," muttered Brom, looking at the battered sign above them as he and Eragon entered the building. The dingy room felt unsafe. A fire smoldered in the fireplace, yet no one bothered to throw more wood on it. A few lonely people in the corners nursed their drinks with sullen expressions, kind of like the Denny's bar. A man missing 2 fingers sat at a far table, eyeing his twitching stumps. Again, kind of like the Denny's bar.
Wow.
The bartender had a cynical twist to his lips and held a glass in his hand that he kept polishing, even though it was broken. Brom leaned against the bar and asked, "Do you know where we might find a man called Chode?" Eragon stood at his side, fiddling with the tip of his bow by his waist. It was slung across his back, but right then he wished it were in his hands. The bartender said in an overly loud voice, "Now why would I know something like that? Do you think I keep track of the mangy louts in this forsaken place?" Eragon winced as all eyes turned toward them. Brom kept talking smoothly. "Could you be enticed to remember?" He slid some coins onto the bar. The man brightened and put his glass down. "Could be," he replied, lowering his voice. "But my memory takes a great deal of prodding." Brom's face soured, but he slid some more coins onto the bar. The bartender sucked on one side of his cheek undecidedly. "All right," he said finally, and he reached for the coins. Before he touched them, the man missing 2 fingers called out from his table, "Gareth, what the blazes do you think you're doing? Anyone on the street could tell them where Chode lives. What are you charging them for?" Brom swept the coins back into his purse. Gareth shot a venomous look at the man at the table, then turned his back on them and picked up the glass again. Brom went to the stranger, then said, "Thanks. The name's Neil. This is Evan." The man raised his mug to them. "Martin, and of course you met Gareth." His voice was deep and rough. Martin gestured at some empty chairs. "Go ahead and sit down. I don't mind." Eragon took a chair and arranged it so his back was to the wall, and he faced the door. Martin raised an eyebrow, but made no comment. You just saved me a few crowns," said Brom. "My pleasure. Can't blame Gareth, though. Business hasn't been doing so well lately." Martin scratched his chin. "Chode lives on the west side of town, right next to Angela, the herbalist. Do you have business with him?" "Of a sort," said Brom. "Well, he won't be interested in buying anything. He just lost another ship a few days ago." Brom latched onto the news with interest. "What happened? It wasn't Urgles, was it?" "No," said Martin. "They've left the area. No one's seen him in almost a year. It seems they've all gone south and east. But they aren't the problem. See, most of our business is through sea trade, as I'm sure you know. Well," he stopped to drink from his mug. "Starting several months ago, someone's been attacking our ships. It's not the usual piracy, because only ships that carry the goods of certain merchants are attacked. Jode's one of them. It's gotten so bad that no captain will accept those merchants' goods, which makes life difficult around here, especially because some of them run the largest shipping business in the empire. They're being forced to send goods by land. It's driven costs painfully high, and their caravans don't always make it." "Do you have any idea who's responsible?" "There must be witnesses," said Brom. Martin shook his head. "No one survives the attacks. Ships go out, then disappear. They're never seen again." He leaned toward them and said in a confidential tone, "The sailors are saying that it's magic." He nodded and winked and leaned back.
He's like, "Do you get it?"
Brom seemed worried by his words. "What do you think?" Brom shrugged carelessly. "I don't know. I don't think I will unless I'm unfortunate enough to be on one of those captured ships." "Are you a sailor?" asked Eragon. "No," snorted Martin. "Do I look like one? Captains hire me to defend their ships against pirates, and those thieving scum haven't been very active lately. Still, it's a good job." "But a dangerous one," said Brom. Martin shrugged again, and downed the last of his beer. Brom and Eragon took their leave and headed to the west side of the city, a nicer section of Tyrim. The houses were clean, ornate, and large. The people in the streets wore expensive finery and walked with authority. Eragon felt conspicuous and out of place.
That was a lot of information. I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, shit, yeah, because basically the chapter started off with through a dragon's eye. So Eragon connected with Saphira through her magical eyes, and they found out that the Razak are
Riding dragons.
Not dragons. Mounts of some sort.
Dragons.
Brom said a dragon would never consent to bear a Razak unless Galbatorix broke the minds of dragons so that they could ride them.
You don't think dragons could be bad? I think they could be bad.
Well, dragons could be bad, but it's just that the Razak, there's something gross about them.
They're probably like Dementors, I imagine. They're like rotting skeletal beings.
I think it just goes against a dragon. It's like anti-dragon.
Whatever. What if they're riding something like a thestral?
Is it a spoiler if I tell you that you find out eventually what their mounts are? Is that a spoiler?
To tell me that I'll eventually find this information out? No.
Okay. Then you eventually find out what they're riding.
Okay.
And not to be stop any flow you have in your brain, but it's not a dragon. Brom already said it's not a dragon. It's not a fucking dragon.
Okay, just because Brom says it's not a dragon doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a dragon.
Brom doesn't really lie.
I'm not saying he's a liar.
He said they won't consent to riding dragons.
Okay, fine, whatever. I mean, it's not like okay, whatever. It's not a dragon.
Pull your head out of your ass.
Stop.
Okay, so they found out that they were using Seether oil, have to go and try to locate where the Seether oil was going or where the Razak are, because now they're mobile, airborne.
Right.
Can't be tracked by the ground anymore. Got to track them by the sea. Funny how if something you can't track by the ground, you have oh wow. Funny how something you can't track by ground that is airborne, you then have to track by the sea.
Interesting.
They're all coming together here.
Oh wow, all the elements.
Except underground.
Underground isn't an element.
Earth is.
Earth is, which is land.
Okay, so you have land,
okay.
Travel mode land,
okay.
Travel mode air, travel mode sea. You can't travel by fire. So what are you saying?
In Harry Potter, you can.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So we're trying to find Seether oil. And then we're trying to find also a chode.
And he lives where?
I don't know. By the sea.
Next to Angela, the herbalist.
Oh. Ooh. An herbalist. Interesting.
Why is that interesting?
Because isn't the Seether plant a plant? Wouldn't she know information about it?
That is interesting. I don't think they ever go down that avenue.
That's annoying.
Or do they?
I guess we'll find out.
And they've been finding out that Jode's been... Well, there's more important information within what Martin said. Ships, specific merchants, are being attacked. And their ships are just disappearing with their goods.
Bermuda Triangle. The Devil's Triangle.
I mean, what you find out later on is not too far off, so...
But then they're like, ooh, magic.
I don't think Martin did that. I don't think it was like, the sailors have been saying that it's magic. Ooh.
It would have been better if he did, though.
But then he nodded and winked out. He was like, ooh. Okay, well, it sounds like you don't have a lot to say, so comments?
I don't have any theories. Yeah. Just like, I don't know. I think I'm having a hard time with you reading like 1,000 chapters at once.
Okay, we'll not do that again.
Because it's so much information. It's just like being crammed down my tiny little throat. You know?
My first comment.
Stop. Take the words out of my mouth. Dr. Modal 2 said.
For your first comment.
For my first comment. This. I'm not a part of a book group for that exact reason. Everyone is supposed to go off on their own and read the book. Like, no, now we already know all the spoilers and how things come together. Coming up with theories on what might happen is the best, bouncing ideas off of each other. Maybe this is the Sixth Sense and Brom has been dead the whole time. Who knows? Which I kind of was like, ooh, maybe. And then, but maybe in our bullshitting, we can figure out some awesome fan theories and or real things in the plot. I've talked with some people in person and somehow book clubs have been brought up and I've essentially told them I'm part of an online book club. I love it.
But it's better.
Yeah, except it's way better than an actual book club. Firstly, I like how we do this better than a book club because that just seems really like, I don't know, stupid. But, and then I was thinking when they were like, ooh, rumors about Brom being dead. And I was like, oh, what if he's just a ghost man? How crazy would that be?
Like he's not even real.
Yeah, what if he's like Virgil from Dante's Inferno?
I don't know, everybody else saw him.
Doesn't mean he's not dead. I just like that. It's just fun. If he's just a little ghost man.
And then
Or what if
Eragon's...
he's some sort of undead creature?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Or what if he's...
What if he's immortal? What if he can live forever?
Like he's a sorcerer or something?
Yeah.
You find out some stuff later. Not about him, just about like witches and wizards and sorcerers and stuff and like their life longevity.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Modal.
Thank you.
That's exactly like, I guess, kind of what we really want this to be. Is like an online book club where everybody comes together with their books. I saw that Liam bought Eragon. Everyone can like follow along, read along, or read like the chapter on your own and then follow on or just listen and then comment, discussion.
I like how it's kind of like you can kind of pick how you want to do it.
Yeah, you can do it however you want to do it.
Because then
because the discussion's always at the end. It's not like I guess like though like we do discuss things throughout the book or throughout the chapters as well.
Yeah.
So it's best to like listen.
But I was thinking, I think it was Laurette was saying that she reads quicker than what we're reading now. So she reads and then listens to us. And then I feel like in that way you can get more information. And then also, I don't know, I feel like book clubs are weird because then I feel like you go into it and unless you've taken notes, then do you remember anything? I don't know.
Yeah, true. Because like then they're like, oh, like do this or we're gonna read this book for this week or whatever, and then you come back a week later and then like somebody like remembers this and you're like, I don't remember that at all, and then they're like, oh yeah, it was page 394.
Stupid.
Isaac is laying on his tongue. Oh. He sucked it back up.
Don't you shame me. But thank you, Dr. Modal.
2.
And then Wayno's 86 said, just caught up. Big Harry Potter. Wait, what? Oh, there was Potter twice. I think that was an accident. I don't know. Anyway.
Big Potter.
Big Potter fan. Big Harry Potter fan. And I have really enjoyed the read along. I'm new to Eragon, but I'm hooked. My comment though is, Demi, you don't seem to have the same pulse on this series as you did Harry Potter. Granted, we only joined you 5 books in. I'm starting to wonder if you had more spoilers than you realize and maybe aren't the seer you thought you were. Which I could see that being a thing because I knew before reading Harry Potter that Snape loved Harry Potter's mom. I didn't know what implications that had, but I knew that going into it, and I knew like a couple of things. But
But you were like completely blind with Aragon.
yeah, completely blind with Eragon. The only thing I knew was like the first couple of chapters of the book because I had read the first couple of chapters, and that's it.
I told you one thing in Aragon a long, long time ago when I read Brasinger that I thought was really cool, and I don't even know if you remember what I told you.
I remember a long time ago because we've already read it in the book now, but Bersinger means fire, and that's like its name. I remember you telling me that.
Remember anything else?
Maybe when we get there, I'll remember.
Bless you, Isaac.
Jeez, gesundheit.
Because I remember me telling you about that, and I thought that was like really, really cool. But I think it was just kind of one of those conversations. You're like, yeah, that's great. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to play Sims.
I'm not just always playing The Sims. When was the last time I played Sims? That's what I thought.
When was the last time you had a computer that worked?
My laptop works.
Besides, and you were playing Sims on your laptop too. So, oops. Whoops.
Anyway, I think that I did have more spoilers, but also I had more time to formulate
I think you
theories
brought
on stuff.
that up as well. That we're like 5 books into it. And so, or 6 books into it
Yeah.
when we started recording. So you had more time to theorize and stuff.
Because in the beginning, I was just like, yeah, fucking great. Harry Potter's a little shit.
Yeah, we were just blowing through the books. And then once you started formulating theories.
Once it got adult, when
Goblet of Fire.
like that's
Then
when
you're
I was
like,
like,
ooh.
yeah. So I think like now it's hard for me to formulate anything because it's so much exposition at this point.
Yeah, there's just so many places that this could go. I feel like probably near the end of Eldest, actually at the end of Eldest, you're going to be like, theory galore. You're going to theorize a lot more.
Yeah.
But also, like, I would say that your seer powers have taken a hit since we've been moving in jet lag. Like, there's just too much on your mind. You can't really focus everything onto, like, coming up with a solid theory. So, blame
Just
jet
wait.
lag. I blame jet lag for everything.
Yeah, I know. Everyone
It's going to
keeps
be like
making
a
jokes
year
about
from
it.
now and be like, jet lag.
Jet lag. But thank you, Waynos86. We'll see. We'll see if the powers come back. My next comment is from Anubis / also Max Shadeslayer. Said, quick brain, load an interesting comment. ... I got nothing. So if you guys were any fantasy creature, what would you be? Great work as always. Thanks, guys. I always wanted to let you guys know that I, and I'm sure many other people here, really appreciate all the time you take to read / respond to comments, and it does not go unnoticed.
Shade Slayer for your kind words.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that everyone is enjoying it as much as we are. I hope everyone's enjoying it as much as we are because I enjoy it a lot.
I enjoy doing the comments probably the most.
Yeah, I think that's like my favorite part. I always like can't wait to get to the comments, and sometimes I'm like, I don't have anything to say about the book. Let's read comments.
Is Shade Slayer, this is a question to you, Max, is Shade Slayer from this series or is that something different?
You know what? I actually thought about that like way a few chapters ago, and I meant to bring it up, and then I forgot.
So, what is it?
If you were any fantasy creature, what would you be?
You can go first.
There are so many fantasy creatures, so I really like I like nymphs. I think they're very cool. Oh my god, what am I trying to say? Forest people. You know, they're like little fucking tree people. I think I'd want to be like a tree people or like an elf. That'd be cool. Or I don't know what else. There's so many things that I could be that would be so fun.
Huh.
I think a nymph though. Like maybe a water one or like a foresty one.
Mermaid? What if you could have legs as a mermaid? Like you could go from land to water, like a...
I think nymphs can, at least in the mythology. Like I think they can kind of like just fucking
Go
do
from
whatever they
both.
want. Yeah. They're amphibious maybe.
I don't know what I would be. Like just whatever. Anything.
Or a fawn, that'd be cool. Like a satyr.
A creature?
Yeah. I think they're all, most anything that's like just not a human is considered a fantasy creature. Unless we're talking like beasts specifically.
Oh.
And then maybe, ooh, like a unicorn, but like from Legend. Like those kind of unicorns.
I'd still want to be like a human.
Humanoid.
Yeah. Really, I just would want to use magic. That's it. That'd be cool to be a werewolf.
Would it though? It seems like it would be awful.
As long as I could have a little potion that would make me in control of my own mind. I just like the immortality aspect. So if I could be a witch, even if it's like a witch or a wizard or a sorcerer, I don't like the idea of like sorcerer so much because it's like using souls to like control your magic abilities. I like the idea more so of like witch wizard, where you're using like potions and herbs and like different
Spells
concoctions and
stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
like different rituals in that aspect. Instead of like twisting a
Yeah.
energy source, it seems more like natural. I'd like that more like natural druidist.
And it seems like more like realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
Too.
And so, I mean, I would just want to be able to use magic. That's it. Nothing special.
Magic would be fun.
Yeah. Or I just want to be a dragon.
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Next comment.
Hell yeah, baby. Thank you, Max Shadeslayer.
Thank you, Max Shadeslayer.
I'd like to know what everyone else would want to be too.
Yeah.
Like,
Drop
what are
that
the-
shit in the comment section below. What is it? Creature?
Yeah, like what fantasy creature would you want to be and describe it to, just in case.
Yeah, just because there's a lot of different definitions for a lot of different creatures. So let us know.
And then my last comment is from Maureen Walker. She said, I'm wondering, did Eragon have any of these twitches of abilities with magic and such as he was growing up before he found the egg? It was in him already, right? But I thought the egg was what gave it to him. But I don't know if they ever explicitly say if it's the egg or if it's him.
I think it is the egg, because to learn magic any other way, you have to learn like from a sorcerer or some sort of like
Okay.
some other, or you have to learn like from spirits or a sorcerer or some other form.
You have to have like a teacher.
But like dragons have a direct connection to Allegasia and the magic tapped within Allegasia or whatever. So like he's able to use the magic of Allegasia through being a dragon rider.
Okay. Because once she brought that up, I was like, well, maybe. Like, it might have just always been in him. But I guess Saphira chose him.
He might have had like a predisposition to magic.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily
Since
mean
his
that.
mom was a dragon rider.
My turn.
Okay.
Jacqueline Sanker said, "Are you guys excited to be back in the States finally? Fleetwood Mac was just in concert where I live on Friday, but we missed to see Joey Diaz. If you ever have a chance to see him, I highly recommend. I also love how Dad gets so excited about a chapter. It makes it that much more fun. Can't wait to hear the exciting news."
You go.
Yes, we are excited to be back in the States. There's just so many little things. You can come in. We're almost done.
You're okay.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Keep them outside then.
Don't let them in. Freya.
Yes, we are. Sorry about that. My mom interrupted.
She brought grandma and grandpa.
She brought my grandma and grandpa down. So, yes, we were excited to be back in the States. There are some little things like Amazon Prime that just make quality of life just so much more special. And then,
Like, Amazon Prime is better than Japan.
yeah, fucking A. And then just food is really very large portions, I found out.
Oh my, I haven't been able to finish a meal unless I get something that's like sides.
Yeah. So that kind of sucks because I feel like it's a waste of money. But I mean, like for the most part, we can just split food.
Yeah.
And then there's just like little things that I never really thought that I'd miss about the States that I totally missed being overseas. Like going to Kroger and just seeing all of the options for food. Like all the different types of bread and all the different types of vegetables and cheap food too.
Yeah.
Like avocados are fucking 79 cents avocado. Where we were living, it was like $3.
Or something ridiculous.
So-
They were so expensive.
So it's definitely nice to be back for that aspect that we can actually find food that's like affordable.
And that I know how to use.
And then we're still debating whether we want to go see Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, we heard Fleetwood Mac playing on the radio in a store today, and I thought, I like Fleetwood Mac.
And we'll get to the exciting news after I'm done with comments.
Wow.
JDPC saying, maybe I'm too much of a D&D fan, but I wonder how you can write stuff with dragons in it and have it being so trivial. Guys walking the road with dragon overhead. Okay, I'm complaining. And I'm sure things will start to get more epic at some point. But for me, the word dragon alone should be matched to epic stuff. And not that it has to be epic action, but the simple fact of talking to a dragon should be something special. Okay, complaining now since it's kind of special with their telepath bonding. But dragon are supposed to be sage. Be way more intelligent than man, at least for the intelligent one in D&D. Well, I'm writing my own medieval fantastic novels for some time now, and dragons are a main center of the plot in it. The first time we see one, it's an epic fight between two, followed by a cryptic discussion of one with the main character where the dragon already know him and seem to know his future too. But that's my take to it. So I was thinking that was something that Christopher Paolini could have done really interesting with the series, is start the entire series off with the battle between Galbatorix and Vrail.
Yeah.
And give us like an in-depth like little snippets of ancient knowledge and like just like stuff that like we want to understand, but kind of build like a framework for the rest of the story instead of doing like the shade ambushing. Like it would have been very interesting to see that like battle happen, and or just something like cool like that, like action sequence, boom 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 boom, like fucking happening. And then
yeah, I agree. It's been
pretty slow.
I like where could possibly go. Like, I'm enjoying it, but I'm also like, okay, let's do something.
Let's do something adventurous,
because
epic,
it was like they went to that
fantastical. This is a fantasy story with the dragon. It should be epic. Let's do it now. Let's be epic.
Well, the Urgles, and then when he discovers that he can do magic, like that was like really exciting, and then I felt like it just wasn't exciting.
He only put that in there because he was like, oh, wow, this is just a book about traveling.
Wow, this is just descriptions of the world.
The majority of the next book really isn't too much better. TBH.
Wow. Oh, well, we'll survive. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Devane said, instead of saying next time on Harry Potter's P, because we were reading the HP series, will it be next time on Eragon's D? Do you get it?
I get it.
Because if you replace the E with the D in Eragon, it spells dragon.
I fucking love that.
I waited. I didn't say it the entire episode, so I could say it then in line with the comment. Now that is planning.
Wow, that's cooking by the book.
And then Kay Bronson said, someone called you guys retarded? Fucking triggered? Oof. I'm going to find that comment and go off like I do. I responded and said, like, I think I deleted it. But I will call that person out. It was MZ Catalicious Medley. But they said, after calling us retarded and insulting us,
yeah, and
that they were losing Brian cells. Then they said, ugh, y'all won me over. My bad for earlier comments. But dead goy still read kind of atrociously. But I actually am starting to like the question and theories, y'all, and thinking of it's kind of funny, some of them. That's kind of like how most people, I feel like, start.
Gotcha,
at first,
bitch.
like, gotcha, bitch. Like, everyone starts off just fucking hating us and going like, this isn't an audio book. But we were never intending to make an audio book.
So right.
Yeah, you're right. And so I'm glad we finally got you, bitch.
We always get them in the end.
Yeah.
That's like everyone. I can't count how many comments you're like, wow, this person's like really hating. And then a week later, they're like, sorry about that mean thing I said to you a week ago.
There was another comment that was like that. But yeah, so Kay Bronson, stand down.
Okay. It's okay.
Apparently we got them in the end.
Also, welcome.
Welcome, Catalicious. That's all I remember.
Catalicious.
Catalicious Medley.
Catalicious Medley. I don't know what that means, but I'm into it.
All right.
Time to go.
Well, my grandparents are scratching at the door, so I need to go now. Thank you, everyone. Oh, the good news, the exciting news. So we have decided after much thinking, as soon as we finish the Soma series that's currently on the channel, we're going to open up a separate gaming channel. So, and we'll probably make a separate video on this too, just to like try to hit as many people on the channel as we can. And it'll be in Discord and Twitter and Facebook and everything. But we're just going to open up or start a whole separate Dead Inside gaming channel. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. That'll be in this other video. But just so you guys know, you guys can be looking for that. And it will only be gaming videos on that channel. And then the Dead Inside like main channel will be primarily reading and podcasts.
Yeah.
Primarily a reading podcast and maybe some commentary videos thrown in there just for flavor. But for the most part, it'll just be reading. So the schedule will still stay the same. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, posting schedule, as we always do. So that's all I got. You want to add anything on that?
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.
We did it. Congratulations, everybody.